Bienvenidos, movie lovers. Jeffrey Michael here, and welcome to a heist-worthy edition of Jeffrey Michael's Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Yes, I know. I realize I'm a little late again with my movie reviews. I'm sorry, guys. It's just that so many things have been happening in my life recently. I just went to a Sam Smith concert the other day and got a cool Sam Smith souvenir shirt. I can't show you the logo because copyrights and all. And I also got a new bookshelf and just got a new phone too. So yeah, a lot of stuff has been happening. So I'm really sorry that these reviews are late, really late again. But let's not waste any more time though. Let's get right into it. In this video, I'll be reviewing the movies that were released on June the 8th, 2018. Okay, the first movie that I will review for you is Ocean's 8, rated PG-13. It stars Sandra Bullock, Cate Blanchett, Anne Hathaway, Mindy Kaling, Rihanna, Awkwafina, Sarah Paulson, and Helena Bonham Carter, and was directed by Gary Ross, who brought you such films as Pleasantville, Seabiscuit, and the first Hunger Games film. Now, the Oceans franchise actually has been going on for quite a while. It all started back in 1960. The first Ocean's 11 film came out. It starred Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and a whole bunch of A-list stars from the time. Unfortunately, though, that film got mixed reviews at best from critics, and it wasn't really that great of a movie, to be honest. But then, years later, in 2001, the movie was remade as Ocean's 11, which starred George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon, and about 8 other guys not worth mentioning. Anyway, that film starred George Clooney as Danny Ocean, who brought together 10 other guys, and they all worked together to pull off a heist where they robbed 3 casinos in one night and got away with millions of dollars. Now, that film was actually a really good movie, and it was a box office smash. And so, of course, when a movie's a smash, they make a sequel. Unfortunately, Ocean's 12 was really not that great at all. Kind of lame film. I really didn't like that one. And then, they made a slightly better third film, Ocean's 13, a couple years after that. And then after a while, the Ocean's franchise just kind of died away and was forgotten about for a while. And then recently, they decided, hey, let's make an all-female reboot called Ocean's 8, because why not? In this day and age, why not? And so they did. And that's the movie that I will be reviewing for you right now, Ocean's 8. So, Ocean's 8. Our main character this time is Debbie Ocean, played by Sandra Bullock. She's the sister to Danny Ocean, who's played by George Clooney in the original trilogy. Now, sometime between the original trilogy and Ocean's 8, we find out, unfortunately, that Danny Ocean's character has passed away for unknown reasons. Now, his sister Debbie is currently in prison for pulling off a heist. It's funny, both brother and sister are high-class thieves. At one point in the movie, a character asks, "What is this, a family thing?" Apparently so. And so the movie starts off, Debbie Ocean is in prison, but she's let off on parole for good behavior, and she promises that this time she's going to fly right. And so she immediately goes to her right-hand man, or right-hand woman rather, Lou, played by Cate Blanchett, and says, "I got a heist all planned and ready to go." She's like, "Well, what? You just got out of prison here. Why do you have to steal stuff?" And she replies, "Because it's what I'm good at." And so her plan to her latest heist, she plans to break into the infamous Met Gala and make off with a Cartier diamond necklace valued at $150 million. I can see what she's talking about now. And it's going to be worn on the neck of the famous actress Daphne Kluger at the event, who's played with snobbish glee by Anne Hathaway. I love Anne Hathaway, by the way. She's always brings everything to each role. And so, of course, the two of them can't do it alone. So Debbie and Lou work together to bring 5 other women into the heist. Let's see, there's a disgraced fashion designer, Rose, played by Helena Bonham Carter. There's jewelry maker, Amita, played by Mindy Kaling. Hacker Nineball, played by Rihanna. Pickpocket Constance, played by Awkwafina. And finally, profiteer Tammy, played by Sarah Paulson. And so the 7 of them work together. And I know what you're thinking, 7 people? Wait, isn't this called Ocean's 8? Well, that's one of the twists of the movie later on. Can't tell you. And so the 7 of them work together and you see the step-by-step procedures that they take, step-by-step clockwork to show how this heist is gonna be pulled off. And in the third act is when they finally are ready to pull off their heist. Now, will they do it and get away scot-free? Overall, I would say that this film was a competently made heist film. That's what I would refer to as. It wasn't a bad film or, great, but it was still just entertaining enough to watch. I mean, the acting, of course, is great. Sandra Bullock is great in the lead. And like I said, Anne Hathaway, she is so good in her part. You kind of wish that she was a star at one point. I mean, I wished anyway. So, wishful thinking. And it's a great, heist film. You see all the clockwork and all the stuff and, the entertaining way that they have to figure out stuff, to pull this heist off, just like the original trilogy. But one key ingredient that I thought was missing this time around that made the original Ocean's 11 with George Clooney so great was the idea that was this like kind of cool and slick film with a lot of razzle-dazzle dialogue. You can tell that the actors were having just as much fun in behind the scenes and in their roles as we, the audience, were watching it. So you can tell it was fun on both sides. And in this film, I mean, there was kind of the same, kind of fun aspect, but I just felt like, some of that razzle-dazzle dialogue and those situations where, they're not working on the heist, the off, moment stuffs, I felt like there wasn't enough of that. I mean, there were some moments, sprinkled throughout the movie, like at one point one of the girls tries to help the other girl, use Tinder. But yeah, there wasn't enough of those kind of moments, so the movie was left a little flat, to be honest. I mean, it was still entertaining, heist film overall. I just felt, it was just missing that extra spark that made the original work so great. So overall, my review, I think I would give it a B minus. It's competently made, it's well acted, it's got a lot of fun, cool moments. I just felt it was, like I said, it needed that extra spark, to make it from a good film to a great film. But would I still recommend that you see it? Yeah, of course. If you want to see, a nice, good heist film, this is still a nice one to see in theaters. I mean, it's, not exactly going to help you root for more women-centric films, but but it's still, a nice time at the movies, and go and see it if you want to, Hurry up now before it leaves theaters, because I'm so late with this review. Moving on. So the next film that I will review for you is Hereditary, rated R. It stars Toni Collette, Alex Wolff, Millie Shapiro, and Ann Dowd, and is a directorial debut of Ari Aster. Now, Hereditary starts off, we're introduced to our main character, Annie, played by Toni Collette. She's a miniaturist artist. That means that she's an artist that makes miniature houses and people, stuff like that. And we're introduced to her husband, Steve, her teenage son, Peter, played by Alex Wolff, and her preteen daughter, Charlie, played by Millie Shapiro. And so the movie starts off, they're going to a funeral. Annie's mother, Ellen, the matriarch, has passed away. And we find out, when they get to the funeral, she's delivering a eulogy that her mother and Annie didn't really have a good relationship. She barely saw her because her mother, Ellen, led a secretive life that she barely let anyone in on. And so she's living her eulogy, and she's like struggling, like, I'm trying to feel sad here, but I can't because they didn't really have a good relationship, like I said. And she goes off to a support group for people who've lost loved ones. And Annie, amidst the group, my mother and all the members of my family all had mental illnesses in their lives that resulted in their deaths. And she's worried, because could that happen to me? Could I have a mental illness that I don't know about? And we also find out that maybe her mother, Ellen, may have dabbled in the supernatural, but when she was still alive. But now that she's died, that curse is now passed on to her family. Ooh. And we slowly but surely start to see weird stuff happen. We see dead animal carcasses show up, and the family starts to see weird shapes on the walls, like hallucinations, like, whoa, what was that? And the daughter starts acting weird, like she's possessed. And more as the movie goes on, more and more weird, crazy crap starts to happen. Let's just say that a couple of decapitations are involved. Whoops, maybe I said too much there. And it gets even more scary and more weird. And it all delivers up to a crazy climatic conclusion and finale. And after it's all over, you're just left, after the movie's over, I was just like, I mean, that's exactly how I felt. It's like, what the hell just happened here? Wow, that was great. And overall, as you might have already guessed, I mean, this was a great movie. I mean, it's probably one of the most original horror films that I've seen in years. I mean, that's what all the critics have been saying, and they're right. I mean, so much happens in this movie that I don't think I've seen before. Now, I should say though that even though I think it's great, I mean, the two words that I would use to describe it are scary and weird. And I say that because some people may not care for this movie. I mean, there were definitely, I saw at least two people walk out of the movie before it was over because it was just too much and too weird. Like, oh, this is ridiculous. But I don't think that's a bad thing because I love how original it was. I mean, I love movies that really challenge like the norms and go off of, conventions. For some people, though, this is a very esoteric film, so it might be too scary or too ridiculous for you. So I will say though that the good things, like it's a really scary movie. So if you're not into scary movies, so you probably shouldn't see it. And the acting, oh my gosh, Toni Collette, our lead, I mean, she can do no wrong. She's one of those rare actresses who delivers every single role that she's in. No matter how big or small her role is, she just nails it. I mean, she is so good. I actually think that, she should be nominated for Academy Award. I mean, she probably won't since this film won't get that much recognition, but I mean, she really does deserve a reward for this performance. She is that good. Wow. I mean, Jesus, you gotta save my son. Just do it. I mean, she really goes for it. Wow. And I mean, overall, I would give this film, I would say a B plus. I really enjoyed it, but I can tell already that some of you may go to see it on my recommendation, and you might come off saying, Jeff, that was terrible. I would give that a D or an F. And yeah, like it's that kind of film. Like it's gonna divide people. You will either love it like I did, or you will hate it like those two people walked out of the theater. So yeah, it's a very divisive film. So if you really want to see a great original horror film, then I for sure recommend this film. Go and see it. But if you're not really into weird stuff and you're just not really into scary movies, then probably you shouldn't. So the grade, either a B plus or a D or F. So go and see the film, proceed at your own risk because, you've been warned ahead of time. I recommend it, but you might not like it, so it's all up to you. Moving on. All right, the last film that I will review for you is Hotel Artemis, rated R. It stars Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown, Dave Bautista, Sophia Boutella, Charlie Day, Jenny Slate, Zachary Quinto, and Jeff Goldblum, and is the directorial debut of Drew Pearce. Now, Hotel Artemis is set in LA in the near future, 2028 to be exact, just 10 years later, and in this futuristic world, water is scarce, and there are riots that are constantly happening all over LA. And we're introduced to Waikiki, played by Sterling K. Brown, and his brother, Honolulu. Yeah, all the characters are named after places in this movie. I don't know why. And so these two brothers have just committed a bank robbery, and as they're fleeing down a dark alleyway, the cops intercept them, and they critically injure Honolulu. He's shot, and he's like, I need to go to a hospital. No hospital, because they're criminals. And so he's, I know a place we can go. And that place happens to be an old abandoned hotel called the Hotel Artemis. And the Hotel Artemis is run by a character called the Nurse, played by Jodie Foster. And her right-hand man, or assistant, Everest, played by Dave Bautista. He's a big guy, or brute of assistant. And they get to the hotel, and they have to scan their hands like a security gate, because there are rules at the Hotel Artemis that the nurse strictly enforces. And one of those rules is you have to be a member of the hotel in order to scan yourself in. And they both are, so they manage to get in, and the nurse goes right to work treating his brother, Honolulu. And as he's being treated, we're introduced to other occupants of the hotel/hospital. There's Acapulco, played by Charlie Day. He's an arms dealer. And there's Nice, an assassin, played by Sophia Boutella. And also, not long after, the nurse is contacted by Crosby Franklin, played by Zachary Quinto. His father, the Wolf King, played by Jeff Goldblum, who is the owner of the Artemis and also a major criminal kingpin in Los Angeles, has been injured and needs critical medical assistance. Now, even though it goes against the rules, as the nurse points out, he's like, it doesn't matter. He's the owner of the hotel. He gets to do whatever he wants, so you better let us in when we get there. And also, there's another subplot, an officer named Morgan who is injured, and she wants admitted to the hotel even though she's not a member. But the nurse reluctantly lets her in because she knows this officer. This Officer Morgan knew her son when they were younger, her son who is no longer with us. And we learn a little bit about her backstory. And, all these events that I've just talked about, all these characters, they appear strangers at first, but we find out that each one of these characters actually knows one another. And all these events that I just mentioned are going to converge together, and let's just say it leads to a really bloody and violent outcome in the third act. Now, overall, the Hotel Artemis movie, I thought it was just an okay film overall. I mean, it had a great cast. I mean, that great pedigree I just mentioned. I mean, Jodie Foster, Sterling K. Brown, Jeff Goldblum, Zachary Quinto, a lot of great names there, Sofia Boutella. It's just that this is the kind of movie where you have a lot of great actors, and then the material they have to work with is just not strong enough to match up to, their acting abilities. I mean, Jodie Foster in the main part, I mean, she is just great. I mean, how can she do any wrong? I mean, come on, Jodie Foster? And there are flashes of wit here and there, and there's some great, violence, action violence if you're into that sort of thing. But overall, this is the kind of film that, it's just nice to watch, but it's nothing not bad, not good, just average. Average action, average dialogue, average this, ending. I'll make it short. My review for this film, I give it a C, just an average C. I mean, as the moment that I'm giving you this review, it's already left theaters, and it doesn't matter anyway because I wouldn't recommend you see it in theaters anyway. So if you want to see it, you can see it for free on TV. But even then, I don't really recommend all that much. Only if you're like on a rainy Sunday afternoon, and you got nothing else to do and it's on, then sure. Otherwise, no, just avoid. It's not that great of a film. It had a lot of great ideas, but the execution was just meh. Moving on. Hey Jeff, you just got out of prison. What are you going to do with your life? Well, I plan to steal away your attention with this recap. Recap. Ocean's 8, B-, a competently made all-female heist film that's a good reboot of Ocean's 11, but not great. But I still recommend it, though, if you want to see it. Go ahead. Hereditary, B+, one of the most original and weirdest horror films in years, with an award-winning performance by Toni Collette. This film is not for everyone, so proceed at your own risk, and don't say I didn't warn you. And finally, Hotel Artemis, C, an average future dystopian thriller with a great cast, but not much wit. I don't know if I recommend this one, even for free. And that'll do it for another heist-worthy edition of Jeffrey Michaels Movie Reviews Extravaganza. Until next time, happy movie watching, everybody! See you next time. Hopefully this time it won't be too late.